Paydirt, and thank you very much as well for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to talk a little bit about Alvo today. I think we'll preface it with the fantastic introduction about Brazil that Mauro gave. There are so many positives about not only Brazil but Latin America, and I've been working there now for over 20 years. I love it. I've worked at other parts of the world, including Australia, Africa, Eastern Europe. It's the combination of the ease of doing business, the joie de vivre of the people, and the opportunities that come through, as well as the infrastructure and some of the more mundane parts of it. But it's a fantastic place to operate, and I think there's a great story to tell in Alvo. So Alvo is a company that we started in 2014. We only listed in 2019. That COVID got in the way a little bit along the way. The project was, I guess the company was really founded on buying a project in central Brazil, and I'm going to skip through the corporate slide and talk a little bit about the location. So Brazil's a really big country, actually not much bigger, but bigger than Australia. And I've worked all over the place, but the part that we bought recently is the Palma project. It's a copper zinc VMS style project, so polymetallic. We bought it from the government during an auction process, which was not the simplest or not the least bureaucratic process that I've undertaken in country in the past. However, it was successful. We won the bid, and we paid the deposit. COVID broke out. That sent us in a bit of a flat spin for a little while, but then we managed to list the company. We raised some money, and we've been successfully exploring ever since. In addition to that, we've added a couple of rare earth projects, one right next door, which is called Blue Bush, and then one further south in Goiás State called Ibera. But I guess today we're really going to focus on the new project that we're trying to add to the stable. It's a gold project in Bahia State. It's called Lavra Velha, so that's how you normally pronounce it. Lavra Velha is a new project to me as well, so I've had to learn how to pronounce. But it's in Bahia State, and if Minas Gerais is the #1 state for mining in Brazil, I think Bahia is #2. It's a big place. It's got a lot of established mines, a lot of exploration. There's a lot of junior companies actually operating there, and it's actually relatively close to where we operate our base out of southern Tocantins. It's about a 7-hour drive to the east. So, what does Alvo do in Brazil? I think we take a really innovative approach to exploration. We've got an existing team on site, and what we've done is trying to explore using kind of Australian know-how. Where we don't have the technology available, we bring it in, we buy it, and that's been really successful for us in the past. The VMS style project that we were exploring is quite easy to explore from a geophysical perspective, but there's not a lot of equipment available there, or if it is, it's quite expensive to get contractors in. So we've brought in our own electromagnetic downhole and surface equipment. We've brought in induced polarization equipment, and we've also brought in our own drill rig from Australia using auger technology. This is something that's not that fancy, but it makes a massive difference in terms of exploration because we cover a lot of ground, and we're able to continually have information being picked up in the country. And I guess this graph here really shows our history of our exploration. One of the great advantages of central Brazil is that there's no seasonality, so you can operate all year round. The infrastructure makes a massive difference. You can operate in a town of 5,000 or 10,000 people with ease. There's a lot of acceptance locally for operating, and I really think it's overall it's a very easy place to operate. So by doing all this work ourselves in-house, the fruition of that was a discovery at C4 last year, and then after that we've updated our resource overall inventory of at Palma, which is about 7.5 million tonnes at 2% copper equivalent. So it's a decent sized resource. We want more. We're still exploring for more. We want to grow that to about 10 million tonnes before we kick it off. But the project that we're really looking for at the moment is called Lavra Velha. We're going to buy 100% of the project, assuming that due diligence passes, which we're deep into at the moment. We're up to our elbows. I'm heading back to Brazil next week, and I'll be spending the first few weeks of May finalising that due diligence. At this stage, there's no red flags that we've found, and we're looking forward to closing with the vendor. So the vendor is a major company out of Canada. They bought the neighbouring Jacobina project, which is a major mine in Brazil. It's been operating for 20 odd years. Exploration for them was not interesting, so they've basically decided to sell off their gold and other assets from the country. That opportunity came across my desk late last year, signed a CA, did initial DD, made an offer, and during that negotiation process we've signed a non-binding agreement, but it's exclusive for the next few weeks, so we should be able to finish that very shortly. I guess a little bit about the team. A lot of my guys who are operating in Brazil all the time have a gold experience. I myself worked on 2 gold projects in Brazil and took them from zero resources through to feasibility. They are now both in operation this year. These are projects that I bought from either local prospectors or picked them up myself. And so far, the track record from those 2 projects is looking pretty good. This new project, in my mind, is the best opportunity of the 3. It's got an existing resource of about 520,000 ounces at 1.75 grams. It's quite near surface. Most of that is oxide. It's in an established mining location. That's the resource, about 9 million tonnes at the moment. I think the real key part of this resource is conservatism. It's done by a major company out of Canada. It's not their principal project. They've applied a gold price on the pit optimisation here of $1,650 US. I'm sure some of you in the audience might be aware that the gold price is significantly higher, and what that means is when you recut this resource, and we'll have to do that because it's currently done underneath the 43101 or the Canadian system. When we recut it under the JORC system, the Australian system, we can change those parameters, and by increasing the resource of the gold price that's included, it obviously should increase the number of ounces that fall within the pit. The other part of it is there's quite significant amounts of silver associated with it, and at depth there's quite a lot of copper associated with it. The style of mineralisation is actually called IOCG, which stands for iron oxide copper gold. The most famous example, of course, is Olympic Dam in Australia, and there are several very large IOCGs in Brazil. Of course, we would love to have 1% of Olympic Dam, and we're not saying that we do, but a lot of the focus initially by the company that was exploring here, which originally was Yamana Gold, who some of you may have heard of, they were looking for that copper at depth. So a lot of their exploration was aimed at deeper, and we're looking at the surface areas because the surface areas are cheaper to mine, easier to process, and certainly the grades of gold will be more readily accessible for us. Okay, on the top right, there's a bit of a plan map. It's quite extensive, the mineralisation that's been delineated so far. It's still open in multiple directions. Like I said, they've been focusing at depth. We'll be focusing at surface. A lot of the surficial work that they've done, they haven't followed up, and there's a lot of what I call low-hanging fruit for us to expand that resource even further by applying our exploration techniques and by getting out there and drilling. There have been some quite remarkable hits as well along the journey, both within the oxide of high-grade gold and silver, and at depth with including some pretty interesting copper. The package itself that we're buying is not only the actual Lavra Velha project, but the project package includes another 20 or so areas within the same district. There are, further to the south, there's a couple of new areas, and I'll get your help with the pronunciation here. Alvanópolis North and South. Pinha Preta is an area where they've actually found through both rock chip sampling, really limited drilling. Pinha Preta's only had 6 holes into it so far. Both have hit copper and gold. They've mapped a similar style of IOGC at surface over 2 kilometres in strike length. So there's real potential in the other areas that have been totally neglected by by the major that's selling them, and we're really excited about getting not a hold of not only the existing resource, but applying sort of regional exploration to the package as well. Some timeline and catalysts. Our first and foremost, we're completing an entitlement issue for shareholders in Alvo to help participate in purchasing the project. So that'll be closing up in the next couple of weeks. We're obviously going to finish the due diligence, and that's really going to dictate how the next 6 to 12 months will flow. But we'll be hitting exploration as soon as we've closed this deal, and we'll be getting drilling by the end of this year, that's for sure. I want to have a quick talk about the other two projects that we've got. Palmer is a VMS project, as I did mention. What we've done, when we bought this project from the government, we bought around about 10,000 or 10 square kilometres of small areas surrounding the known deposits. Those known deposits are right here in the middle, so C3 at the north, C1 down here, and then C4 is our discovery down here in the south. Now, within this package of rocks, the style of mineralisation tends to cluster. And what that means is if you find one deposit, what can happen is you can find multiple deposits like a string of pearls within the same rock type. So over the last few years, we've accumulated nearly 1,000 square kilometres in pretty much 90% of the entire belt, based upon this premise that we will come in and we will explore the entire belt using that equipment that we've got and using the team that we've developed over the last few years. And we've been successful so far in delineating this new resource here at C4, and we're basically elbows deep as well in exploring multiple other prospects that we continue to work up and get ready for drilling to try and make a new discovery. The VMS project itself is, as I mentioned, 7.5 million tonnes at a 2% copper equivalent. It's principally copper and zinc. Both are really critical minerals in this current market. Copper's having a bit of a renaissance over the last 3 or 4 months. Not like gold, but it's certainly been a really popular project. And as we continue exploring here, we're hopeful that we can build that inventory from 7.5, which has grown from 4 to 7.5 over the last year and a half to 10, if not larger, so that we can bring this into production. And bearing in mind, of course, that our partner on this project is the government of the Geological Survey, which is an arm of the government of Brazil, which means the path through licensing will be assisted. Certainly the opportunity to bring this really forward is accelerated because of those close partnerships. And I want to thank, again, Mauro for pointing out that renewable energy, this part of Brazil is subject to the Sudene tax regime, which means you get a huge reduction on your corporate tax rate. You have the opportunity, the infrastructure here is fantastic. This particular project, Palmer, has 4 hydroelectric schemes within 50 kilometres, 2 north, 2 south. It's crisscrossed by high tension power lines all the way through. So, the advantages that we've got in Brazil for developing new projects is they far outweigh a lot of the issues that we face here in a first world Australia. The last 2 projects that I'll just touch on are the rare earth projects. We initially bought Blue Bush, which is our neighbouring project at Palmer, basically because it was right next door, first of all to us, so we could manage it out of the same office, but also right next door to the only actually operating ionic clay rare earth mine in the world, outside of China. This project's called Serra Verde. We're on the northern extension of Serra Verde. Serra Verde it's been operating now for about 18 months. They're still ramping up. The metallurgical issues that other critical minerals cover are being solved by Serra Verde. So, in this situation, we think it's important to be second because it's not a simple process to process them. But we certainly are advancing that project. And more recently, we picked up another little project called Ipera, which is further south, and I don't have a slide on it, but it's a project that we applied for within the government itself. So it was a free pickup. Thank you very much.